Good day, folks, and welcome back to the channel. And today, we are going to be having a look at a classic in the Softail line, and that is the Heritage Softail. But before we do, as usual, we have a viewer bike of the week to look at. This is Guy's bike, and as you can tell, it's something different than a Harley this time. This is his 2021 Indian Springfield. Now, I am not an expert on Indian motorcycles, but what I do know about the Springfield is that it has that deep studded saddle, those big full swept fenders, and locking hard saddlebags. I believe this model also came with the 111 cubic inch Thunderstroke engine. So thanks, Guy, for sending that in. And if you would like your bike in a video, send me a pic with the details and I'll get it up on the channel. My email address is in the description below. Well, here we are at my local dealer, Prairie Harley Davidson, located just outside of Regina, Saskatchewan. And this is the 2024 Heritage Softail Classic. The model we have here is in the billiard gray color. The Heritage also comes in 4 other colors: vivid black, alpine green, two-tone red rock and vivid black, and Atlas silver metallic. This bike is in the chrome trim, but it also comes in a second trim, which is black. For some specs on this bike, the Heritage is just short of 8 feet long and has a seat height of 26.3 inches and a ground clearance of 4.7 inches. The fuel tank has a 5-gallon capacity and is estimated to get 47 miles per gallon. The Heritage also weighs in at 728 pounds in running order. The power plant moving this bike is the 114 cubic inch Milwaukee 8 engine that puts out 94 horsepower and 119 foot-pounds of torque. As for the exhaust coming off this engine, they are 2x2 shorty duals with the catalyst in the muffler. This bike has the rear monoshock suspension, which on this model is taller than most, but we'll get to that a little later. The wheels are 16-inch steel laced front and back, a 130 tire on the front, and a 150 tire on the back. And a nice thing about this bike is that it comes with that detachable windshield and those saddlebags that are stock. But enough of just looking at it. Let's get out on it and see how it feels. So the Heritage came out in 1988 and has been around since then. It could be considered your touring Softail. This is actually the first Harley I remember seeing up close, as my friend's uncle had one in the early 90s. It's also the first bike I had a poster of up on my wall. Strangely though, I can't remember ever being on one until now. For some reason, it's just never been a bike I considered. The styling is fine, but I will admit I've never been a fan of the studs. And on this particular model, if you're going to call this a classic, I think the company should have gone with white walls instead of the black wall tires, but that's just me. The handling on this bike was quite smooth. To be honest, I was a little surprised how smooth it was, but I probably shouldn't have been. The tire size seems to be perfect for this model, and the lean angles at 27.3 degrees to the right and 28.5 degrees to the left make taking the curves a breeze. As for power, this bike comes with the 114 Milwaukee 8, much the same as my Fat Boy. And like the Fat Boy, the Heritage is not the fastest off the line, but it does pull pretty well once you get past that second gear. The power delivery is quite smooth through all the gear ranges as well. It's not going to blow your socks off, that's for sure, but it's plenty of power to get you in trouble. Now, the exhaust coming off the engine is a staggered 2-into-2 system. The interesting thing with this exhaust is that it keeps the tapered mufflers like the Softails used to have prior to 2018. Comfort on this bike was great. The seat was quite soft, but not so much that you sunk right to the seat pan. It seemed like it would hold up well on longer rides. I also like the floorboards and forward controls, as that's what I'm used to. The Mini Ape handlebars on this bike seem to be just about the perfect height for me, and I'm about 6 feet tall, by the way. They were not too low and not too high. Overall, the Heritage gives you a nice upright seating position. You also get a detachable windshield that comes stock. This also helps with comfort, as that large shield blocks most of the wind. Suspension-wise, the Heritage has pretty much the same front forks as the Fat Boy, dual bending valve 49mm telescopic forks with beer can covers. The rear shock is where things differ. The bike has the Softail monoshock, however, it has a longer stroke than most of the others at 56mm. This is also shared with the Lowrider S. This gives the bike an extra ½ inch of suspension over most of the other Softail models. Braking is good, it's adequate, it's what you'd expect with a Harley cruiser. Solid expansion rotors with a 4-piston caliper on the front and a 2-piston caliper on the rear. This bike also comes with lockable saddlebags. These are hard-formed leather bags that seem fairly sturdy and are easy and open to load. They're also said to be sealed for weather resistance. They are roomy enough to hold what you would need for an overnight or a weekend trip. The Heritage has a large LED headlight out front, with all the other lighting being incandescent. There is a large 5-inch gauge mounted in a somewhat retro-style chrome dash on the fuel tank. It has an analog speedometer with digital gear, odometer, fuel level, fuel range, clock, trip, and tach. The bike also includes the anti-lock brake system. So I was actually a little surprised by the comfort and smoothness overall of this bike, but I probably shouldn't have been. This is pretty much what I would call your touring cruiser. It's comfortable, has good suspension, and you get a windshield and saddlebags as well stock. You also have an engine that is more than enough to get you down the road quickly. I could definitely see people putting on thousands of miles on this model. The bike also looks like your classic Harley. It's a little retro, yet a little modern, a little of the best of both worlds. I'm still not a big fan of the studs though. The Heritage is just a good overall Harley cruiser. But let me know what you folks think about it in the comments. Now, before I go, I will give a shout out and a big thank you to my local dealer, Prairie Harley Davidson, as they are the folks that make my review videos possible. Prairie is an independent, locally family-owned and operated business. These are the folks that we need to support over the large corporate dealerships that just treat their customers like numbers. So if you want to check them out, I will have their contact info in the description below. But that's it for today, folks. We'll catch you in the next one.